Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of I'm Trying and True. Yesterday's affect tomorrow's. So, man, once again, what's going on? It's your boy J Prime. Welcome to I'm Trying and True. Yesterday's affect tomorrow's. Today, man, I wanted to talk about work life, parenting, and social life. You know, those are, once you have kids, especially I notice in my line of work, and not even just really in my line of work, just growing up, and just seeing things and, certain experiences I went through personally. Man, being a parent is hard, man. It's very hard. Um, Depending on the challenges that you face, work life, definitely we have to go to work. We have to put food on the table. We have to clothe our kids. We have to make sure a roof stays over their head. We have responsibilities. Once we have kids, they are added to our responsibilities, right? And that responsibility stays there for a certain amount of time. I understand that people will say, your kids always be your kids and you're going to have to help them regardless, no matter how old they get, which is true. But to a certain point, man, you want to teach your kid a certain level of depending on themselves, um, to get some things done. Teach them how to work through situations, how to exhaust all resources before they actually have to, if it's monetarily, reach their hand out and ask for something. You teach them good work ethic. Um, Along with that, you teach them how to work on credit. You teach them the importance of these things, getting in a career, finding themselves. So, the problems that you've made, you don't want to keep the wheel going. You want to show your kids another way because you already went down the road. So you know the mistakes. And because you may not have had the guidance yourself. So now this is your turn to return that favor or create something. You're recreating the wheel. So you may not have had somebody to give you game on how to do certain things, but you learn through trial and error. So you want to now give it to your kids to say, hey, look, I've been through this. You should go about it this way. But that can only happen, that type of, or let's say it's not even about finances, say it's about relationships, with people. Because a lot of times, man, our kids have kids early, and it's because, you look at them and say, well, you being grown, this is what you did. But in some ways, man, you may have played a part in that decision because you didn't have those type of conversations to let them know, like, hey, man, this is tough. You don't want to be out here creating those type of responsibilities early because this is a shift your life. And I can tell you how, because, hey, I had you early and this is how it shifted my life. You got to have those conversations. But in order to have those conversations, in my opinion, just the way when I see things, and even in my line of work, I notice the parents don't have no real relationship with their kids, and they're relying on me to come in and teach certain life skills, right? And I also have these type of conversations with them, but it's not really best that I feel that it comes from me. It should come from a source that you see all the time and that can constantly remind you, and help that kid along the way. So we'll go into, work life. Most of us, and let's start off as the kids are young. So most of us work jobs. Um, so you think while you at work, now of course when the kid is a baby, you may send them off to a family member to be watched, So the earlier years, yeah, you're spending that nurturing time with them, right? Changing diapers and all that. But let's accelerate the time a little bit. Let's say when they get to be about school age and not preschool, or kindergarten where they have short time in school, which is also important. But I'm gonna say as they developed a little more, right? So now they are experiencing the world within the world that they're in. So let's say that they are school age, right? They're school age, elementary school. We can start there. So they're in school for what my daughter goes to school at about 7 hours, I would say, give or take, 7 hours. And then let's say that they're in the after school program as well. So the after school program is to about 5:30, 6 o'clock, right? So you're working 8 hours your day. They're in this place for 8 hours. Now you go pick them up, you come home. I don't know about the schools your kids may go to or went to, but I know my kid really doesn't get a lot of homework. They may get a work packet every so often with 5 days worth of work in it. So let's take that. So they do, let's say they do get homework, right? Let's say they do get homework. So they get homework, you come home, you got to help them with homework. After you help them with homework, guess what happens? Now you got to prepare dinner. You're preparing dinner, eating dinner, then it's bath time, bedtime, right? So somewhere in between there, you try to figure out how to build a trusting relationship with your kids to communicate with you. Any time is good time, right? Any time spent is good time. I don't care where it is, if it's with your kids or in a relationship. But we're just going to stick on the kids. Use those times to have conversations that will help them develop. When they're that young, the main thing they're getting friends. Their social skills, right? They're learning how to be in a room with people, and kids just play. They see each other, they play. You need to teach them how to handle problems because kids do stuff, right? Sometimes it's intentional, some things are unintentional, and you need to start putting those skills and tools in your kid's toolbox, how to handle problems the right way. But then it depends on your mindset with this as well, because you can spend time with your kids and give them skills, but you could be giving them the wrong skills, and that's because you don't really know how to handle the problems, or you don't know how to handle certain situations. That's why conflict resolution is very important. But we're not going to go off too much. We're going to just keep on the time, and we'll keep it, I'm going to have to bring the conflict resolution in. I'm going to have to. And I'm also always encourage that you need therapy if you don't know how to handle certain situations the right way without it being a disruptive behavior. So let's go to the time. So they doing homework, right? You should be doing your homework with them. They should be doing their homework with you. And those points, start using them. Like the other day, like now my daughter is she's 7, second grader, and she's learning. They're on to the money part now, right? They're on the money part. So they're starting off with, coins, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. And I took that time to teach her how to identify the coins, the value of the coin, We went through some adding and subtraction, because counting money is a very important tool in everybody's lives. So, and I ran through some scenarios, where I came up with stuff like, hey, I got 3 apples here. They're worth this. I just kind of took the homework that was given and extended it, because counting money is important. Adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing is very important. And then it's reiterated, so it's not that we, do it one time throughout. And we're in a day and age where we don't really carry money, right? Everything is on a credit card. But I keep a little bank. So I'll pull out a coin and I just drop coins down on the table. How much is that worth? I drop a quarter and a penny. How much is that worth? I drop 2 quarters, 2 dimes. How much is that worth? Take them away. How much is that worth? Keeping her mind going and understanding, seeing is this, because that's how we are. As adults, we know what a quarter looks like. We know what those coins represent. So those are the skills. And then try to also incorporate a life skill with that. Paint scenarios, role play scenarios with your kids. Like, if they're in a grocery store, like, especially if they got the toys, right? If they have the toys, use the toys, set up a play area. And instead of the fake money, act like you're going to the grocery store and you're buying stuff and they are the one working the cash register. So and make the mistakes, right? Do things to make them challenge their mind, because this will also let you know if what you're teaching them is sticking. Same thing they go through in school. But after school, it should kind of come home, and the life lessons should be taught at home as well. So another thing, so with time, right, we think we go there, but also I notice with the day and age that we're in, it's not about the TV so much anymore, right? Everybody's scrolling. She got a tablet. You know what I'm saying? So we're entertaining ourselves individually. And then when the time comes, the real free time comes. So you think about it, every day during the week, this is y'all routine. Now, let's say it's no homework, right? So the kids come home immediately. They're on their tablets, or if you bought them phones, they're on their phones, and they're on all these different apps. And that's your whole day. You come home, it's the same thing. You're scrolling. If you don't have nothing to do, like work to take home, you come home, you cook dinner, you're scrolling. TV's on, everybody's TV's on, but they're scrolling. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because we all need our downtime. Even during the week, we need downtime as adults, because we're taking on some things, right? Kids, they need downtime as well. I think just their downtime is a little different. Those downtimes should be created, and that should be time that you spend with your child to understand how their mind is working. General questions. A, how was school today? What did you learn? Did anything happen that was out of the ordinary today? And once you do that, because kids love to talk, especially when they're in young ages. Like I told you, my daughter's 7. As soon as she gets in my truck, it's blah, 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 blah. Even when she's using a device, she's talking, right? So I try to use those points as she's talking. Listen for things. Don't ignore them, right? Just don't be, all right, man, she's talking my ear off. Like, listen, as well as you're driving, because it's something that you probably can pull out of their rambling, because they trying to get it out, man. And remember, again, you are their best friend. You're not just their parent, right? They're looking at you as a best friend, because they're consoling in you. They're talking about everything, right? Somebody could have stepped on their shoe and all this and blah. Take those situations and teach them how to work through them. Because those situations happen again. A fight may happen again. An argument may happen again. It will happen again, right? You know how kids are. It's going to happen. It's learning life, and you have to give them the tools. Now, you can give them the wrong tools, or you can give them the right ones. So let's take the obvious, right? Fighting. If everything, hey man, you tell your son or your daughter, hey man, that person hit you, you know, you need to knock the shit out of them the next time they do that, right? Don't let nobody put their hands on you, you know. Okay, now, we will all agree, even as kids, that we were told that, right? And you may say, hey man, you know, I turned out all right, you know. I'm just defending myself. Okay, so this is one step that we're missing. This is where conflict resolution comes in, right? And also how to assess a threat, you know, because as we get older, we get in these situations. As you get older, you realize a lot of things that you may have told or been subjected to was stupid, especially as when you're at a certain age and you just like, yo, look, I ain't got time for this, because you got a lot more to protect. Your responsibilities are important to you. So you have to understand and assess a situation. And you may be like, all right, look, I can't get that involved with this because I have this to deal with. Now, see, you get to that point as you get of a certain age, and when you build up certain things that you have to take care of. But that teaching should come earlier. Assess a problem, how to address it. Everything does not need to be followed up with aggression. You know, sometimes it's better, you know, you telling your kid, you know, and this is what I tell my clients as well, not just my kids. But of course, you know, I tell my daughter, you know, always defend yourself, right? And I teach her how to defend herself. But the one thing I'm telling you to do first is, hey, look, if somebody put their hands on you, you know, and let's say it's not continuous, they not just wailing on you, smacking you around, you know, where you, it's like, all right, you gotta defend yourself to get them off of you, you know. I teach you certain little things to get them off of you. But then, you need to go tell somebody. Because, and I know a lot of people want to say, oh, you don't, that's a snitch. You know, you telling that snitching, Jay, man, Jay, he teaching his kids to, no, I'm teaching my kids, in my opinion, to be stand-up citizens. Defend yourself, yes. But also start getting authority figures in place, because they are the ones that can really solve your problem for you. You know, because that kid that could be disruptive may not need to be in your class. Their parent, they may be a kid that constantly does this. And because of the tools that his parents or her parents is giving her, they're giving her the wrong tools, right? And it's nothing, there's no consequences or anything. So you need to let administration handle that. Let administration get to the parents. Say, look, man, your kid is a problem. And then and let them deal with it. Same thing as when you get older, right? You got kids, you got a house, you know, your cars, whatever it is, your friends, you're living a good life. Would you personally throw it all away to prove a point that you just so tough, and then you go out here and make a poor decision and you lose it all? Think about it. Now, I know how to defend myself, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to defend myself from being hurt. But then I'm getting on that phone and I'm making a phone call because, hey, the authorities need to come get this person and deal with them. Deal with them. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? There's nothing wrong with removing the problems in the communities, especially if that's their behavior and they're extremely disruptive. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to take the time, to give your kids the skills, right? And you should want to give them the skills that's going to make them a better person and make them better to the community that they're going to be in, or the existing community that they're in. School. That's what the administrators are there for, outside of just teaching, and get the parents involved. But let's keep it on time. So you spending time with you. Those are the times you need to spend. The weekends come, right? So if you're a single dad, or single parent period, right? We're just gonna talk single parent period. And you just maybe you're in a good co-parenting situation. So your kids every weekend, or let's say every other weekend, because most likely, it's a 1 weekend off, 1 weekend on thing. So you're with the kids, right? The weekends come. Now that's y'all downtime. Everybody's downtime. If you're working a regular 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, they just go to school Monday through Friday, then the weekends come, right? So you may take it as, hey, I'm going to take them over. My mother and my father's house, or my mother's house. They go over to grandparents' house for the weekend. So you can let loose, which, hey, I get it. But this is something that you're not getting. Their downtime is your downtime, which is extremely important. Those down moments should be times that you spend with them. Take them out in the world with you, whether you take them to a Chuck E. Cheese and all that stuff, man, and let them be kids, right? Let them be kids. You're watching them. But then watch how they are. And kids are so precious and innocent, and you want to maintain their innocence. Things are going to happen once they're amongst other kids, right? And they're playing. They're in this chaotic atmosphere. Take them to an indoor playground. Or if it's warm outside, you take them outside. Let them play. Let them rip and run. Let them also, they're expanding on their social skills and their problem solving stuff, right? Because if stuff happens, they're going to come and tell you, right? And then you can also show them how to correctly handle a problem. So like, say they on the playground, a kid did something to them, right? They come back to you and say, hey, Dad, man, I was trying to get on the slide and they wouldn't let me get on the slide and the kid hit me. Okay, so now here we go. You have a real world situation happening. Especially if it's a public park and the kids are the same age. Guess what? That parent is there. So what are you going to do? You're going to approach that child and say, yo, don't hit my kid no more. You buck at him and all that kind of stuff. I've seen this stuff happen, because I get it. We're protective of our kids. Hit them back. Hit them back. Hit her back. So now this is what's happening. I shouldn't even have to tell you what's going to happen, because you should understand what's happening. Now you're encouraging your kid to have a fight. So now your kid is going to fight this kid, which is going to cause a problem with the parent. So now the parent may not know what's going on. They run over there, they see their kids fighting, and then it's like, yo, what's going on? Well, I was sitting there, man, your kid hit my kid, so I told her to hit her back, or hit him back. You did what now? You don't know the mind of that person. So encouraging the violence maybe, well, guess what? They may want to take that problem out on you. So now you fighting. Or if you're going to try to talk your way out of it because you may not know how to fight, or so what's the better way to handle that situation? Now, if it was me personally, if somebody hits my kid and it's in a public place, we want to avoid the violence because one bad action, it'll be a snowball effect. Then the next thing you know, you and the parent fighting, and guess what happens after that? Police are being called. Now y'all both going through assault charges. So best thing for me, what I would do in those situations is, hey, definitely, who hit you? Okay, so you need to find out who the kid is and where that parent is. And look, your kid hit my kid. You know what I'm saying? I need you to take care of that. And if y'all want to have a convo, well, why'd you let the kids work it out, right? Why'd you hit her? Or why'd you hit him? Start letting them talk it out. Figure out why that person did what they did to your kid. And the kid doesn't have an explanation for why he did what he did or she did what she did. So now the parent, you're putting it on the parent to take care of, take care of your child, okay? I'm going to take mine and they need to be removed, or you need to remove your kid. This ain't the place for your kid to be at if that's the behavior that he's displaying. That's their problem. Things that they need to identify in the personality, why the kid is so violent. But one thing you're doing is, you're teaching your kids like progressive steps on how to take care of problems. Now, what I will say is this. I'm never saying there's not a time where you may really have to, as a kid, tell your kid that, look, you may really have to one day really squabble, but don't be the root of the cause. You know what I mean? Don't be the problem. Don't be the initiator. It's a lot easier to defend the person that's in self-defense, the one that's just protecting themselves from the danger and the harm, than it is to protect the initiator. You know what I'm saying? So you take these times and these skills, man, to the weekends come, take it. Or let's say it's not a problem, right? Like my oldest daughter, I told y'all before, I have an older daughter, 22. And when I had her, I was extremely young. I was 19. And I spent, not knowing. I was a weekend warrior and I was young, right? So my parents watched her more than I did. Because I'm ripping and running the streets doing whatever. I didn't have the tools or the skills to really be that dad. It took me time to get to this point to understand the value in time. But now what I will say is this, before anybody starts assessing me, me and my oldest daughter have one of the best relationships because one thing that was big for me was communication, especially when she was moved out of the area, because me and her mom lived in the same neighborhood. So when they moved out of the area, transportation, all that kind of stuff. Look, communication is key. Just because I can't see you does not mean I can't talk to you. And we can talk about a lot of things. Me and my daughter have a great relationship because of communication, which communication is very effective in every form of life, if you think about it. And I had that talk in a previous episode about the importance of communication. It's very vital in developing anything. I don't care what you think about. Everything communicates with something else in order for it to grow. Or, it could destroy. But for things to work functionally and operate, this component is operating with this component. Your job, something happens, right? Or meetings and all this is communication to keep each other abrupt on what's happening. Communication is key. That's what runs the world, right? So if something that effective and that small, actually, because communication is small, is that big, and it helps things run efficiently, why would you not make sure your kids can communicate with you so you can help them run efficiently? And then the older you get, the wiser you are. You're supposed to be. You're supposed to be wiser. You're supposed to be smarter. You're supposed to learn from your mistakes. You're supposed to learn from your gains. And you should be able to communicate all of that, or your kids should be able to come talk to you, and you should be able to give them the best solution to whatever problem they're facing. And give them different angles, different patterns. Talk. Like one thing me and my daughter do once a month, because she's 22. She's living her life. Psychology. She's going to school for psychology. Just got word today that she's about to be, she's in the home buying program, and she's actually going to look at a house tomorrow, and I hope she gets it. She's doing good, but she listens to what I tell her. And one thing I always do tell her, she is way further than I am at her age. And I'm proud of her. She's 22, no kids, works, going to college, and getting a house. At 22, I was nowhere near close to that. So I took my downfalls and my mistakes, and I coach, because also when your kids become a certain age, you're just coaching. You're not, you're just coaching, and you should want to learn their world. So let's stick with the timeline, because I'm kind of going off. So take those moments to teach life skills, man. The downtime of for both of y'all is very, very important in their development. It strengthens your relationship, and it will give them a better guide on how to handle real world problems. Do that. Very important. So once your kids start getting, I say my daughter's 7, you gotta, hey man, just cut the tablet off today. Just cut it off. Let's talk. What's going on? And I said she's lived with me full time. So she goes sees her mother every other weekend. So the weekends that I have her, the weekends that she's with me, that she doesn't go to mother's, even if I got a DJ at night, I try to, we're going to do something. We're going to do something to where it's just us. And especially when, her little brother's there, because I have a son that's 3. It's important, it's just family time, right? It's family time. We're having family time. And if I don't have to DJ, it's family time all day. We're playing. And of course, like having a 3 and a 7-year-old, oh yeah, it's problems, because then I'm also constantly teaching my daughter that, hey, it's things that you know how to do at 7 years old that he doesn't know how to do or understand at 3. So you're teaching patience, patience and understanding that you are at a certain level, and this person will get there eventually, but it takes time, right? So you're teaching patience, you're teaching skills, because you need to have patience as a parent, right? You need to have patience, because it's things that she do that you be like, yo, really? But then you got to sit back and think, well, she's still only a child. She's learning, like it's constant learning. Just like as adults, we're constantly learning, getting information. Learn, things happen, teach them. Like now I'm teaching my daughter that, hey, if you do something, own up to it. You don't have to cover it up and try to hide it or something like that. Like, and it's simple things, right? Like, so she spilled tea in the kitchen the other day. Now, normally what my daughter would have been doing when she do stuff. Now I get it. I want to clean up. First she would start crying. She would cry. And I'm like, why are you crying? You just dropped something. But then I don't know where that behavior formed, because Maybe, when she's with her mom, it might be different. I don't know, but I told her, look, some things are minor. It's not that big of a deal. Um, but she'll clean it up. But then she'll let me know and say, hey, Dad, look, I spilled the tea in the kitchen. I got it up the best I could. All right, cool. You know what? It's fine. Make mistakes. You don't need to scream it at them, because think about how many times, even in your adulthood, how you mishandled something and dropped it and fumbled it. But there's nobody to scream at you, so it's fair. It's just fair practice. It's nothing to be really that mad about. The lesson is, hey, you did something happened, right? You told me about it. Cool. You did try to fix it. You cleaned it up. You made your attempt to get it the best to your ability. All right. Because I don't want her playing around with chemicals and stuff like that. In my opinion, she's too young, 7 years old. She shouldn't be using Lysol and, whatever, clean the Fabuloso and all that kind of stuff. So now I'll take care of it from there. So it won't get sticky. I'll clean the floor. I'm going to tell you something else that when she started living with me, right? When she started living with me, my daughter her frustration would be, oh my God, how she handled frustration. She would break down and cry, right? Break down and cry. She can't find, she'd lose a pair of earrings, a toy, something she can't find. She is having a whole meltdown. But now, she doesn't. I take the time to tell her, hey, look, all right, you put something down, you lost it. First of all, why are we crying? You got to know how to manage your frustration, because it's going to be stuff way worse than this, right? So, but these are steps to help them know when they face other challenges and other adversities, how to really deal with them. Now I'm not saying frustration doesn't happen and, because things happen, but how to manage it. That's what she would do. But now she comes to me and say, Dad, look, I lost the remote to the TV. This is real. This is something real. And she would cry about it. Like, real talk, she would break down and cry. I lost the remote. So this is what I did. I calmed down and I backtracked my steps. Here go a good. This is a better one. Perfect example. Same type of thing. Christmas time just passed. She made these little necklaces for her besties in school, right? And the box that she put it in, sometimes she's moving too fast. It was on her dresser drawer, and somehow it fell when she had the dresser drawer open. It fell off top of the dresser into the dresser drawer, and she closed it. And she's moving around, moving real fast. So she came to me and was like, Dad, I lost the necklaces. And I'm like, well, you couldn't have lost them because you ain't been nowhere. It's the Christmas holiday. You ain't been nowhere, right? You in the house. They're in here somewhere. So let's not say we lost it. Let's say, we just lost track of it. We just lost track of where we may have set it down at, right? I retraced my steps, Daddy. I retraced my steps. I calmed down. I took a breath to kind of clear my head. And this is how she's talking to me, to clear my head and clear my thoughts. And, I know I placed it right here, but I might have put it over here. And I'm watching her work through this stuff. So she is going through her room, backpedaling. Like, hey, I started making them here. And then I thought I put them right there on top of the dresser, Daddy. I know I did. But then but she's working through this calmly. I found them because I was like, okay, wait a minute. Did you check your drawer? Because she didn't. And then when she checked the drawer, they were right there in the drawer. They just fell down. But I've been working on her because that's a conflict, right? And how to resolve it. Problem solving. I'm working with her day in, day out, because I see the things, and this comes from when you spend time with your children. I see the things that she struggles with. And instead of yelling at her or making her uncomfortable about not being able to come to me about stuff, because I see parents do that as well. You have no relationship with your kid. She can come to me and talk to me. And, sometimes 4 hours is better than 2. And then you think about it, even in your adulthood, how many times have you misplaced something? And it's frustrating. And you done backpedal and backpedal and backpedal. But as long as you keep a cool head, eventually you'll find it. And you'll probably find it in the moment. Because then you'll start observing like, well, if I did lose it here, it could be there because who thinks to look there? You know what I mean? It could be something tied up in your sheets, or it could have fell up under the bed, or anything. You could have, like your keys, right? So you thought you put your keys down on the table and you ready to rush out the door. You switch jackets. Your coat is actually your keys is actually in the jacket that you had on yesterday. Which normally you put your keys on your stand by the door. But things happen, man. We get distracted. A lot of information being processed sometimes as we're walking through a door. Phone could ring, anything. Those your normal off. And then you go into a friend, you're like, oh my God, I can't find my keys. But then you calm down. So like the lessons that you learn as adults, start teaching them to your kids. Because you teach them early, all it's going to do is make them better. But in order to see that, you have to spend your downtime with your kids. And those problems, even though you work through them, like here and there, but when you have the real downtime, like the weekends, and where everybody is free, hey, talk about it again. Come up with real life scenarios about when you were going through something and you had to apply those same skills and give them real life understanding in situations. Same thing I did with my oldest daughter. Like I told you, communication was key. I've always put in front of her face, hey, no kids, not this early in life, because it's going to alter your life. Look what's happening with my life. Look at your mother's life. Look at the things we go through, and some things that, you don't tell your kids all your business. Some things ain't, because, some things are personal. But it's situations that you can talk to them about, especially when they are in that coaching stage. They're in that coaching age, which I say coaching is more 14 and up, even though they're your responsibility, but you're coaching them. They're in the world. And then also, when you have that type of communication with your kids, you can learn the new world, because the world you grew up in and how you had processed it in your time, like I grew up in the 90s. Times are way different. Times are way different now. And it's on everything from the terminology these kids use, the music, So I told you I'm a DJ, right? So I gotta stay up on this kind of stuff. The music, man, it's you can learn from them as well. Because if you don't have this understanding, you need to have a really good relationship with your kids, right? Because as the older you get, you think about it, your world is really, really slowing down. You're working, you watching. I'm gonna speak for myself, and I'm not that old. I'm 41, right? But having younger responsibilities, and then when you're young, you did whatever, you didn't party, travel the world, and all this kind of stuff. And then, of course, when you have kids, it slows all that down, especially if you're a responsible person. But my life now is really come to, I have a schedule. I'm working during the day, doing my inspections, working on my businesses and stuff like that. I pick my daughter up from school. After I pick her up from school, I go to work my other job where I'm counseling. So that's something else too. Being in my position, I'm dropping my kids off with a friend or my parents to watch them while I continue doing work. And I'm trying to help build up other young men and young women to be better people, through counseling. So I'm taking time away from my kid, right? So this is why I say that's something else. I'm helping other kids be better, and I need to make sure that I help my kids be better. So I put that time in. I'm putting that time in. But we where was I going at with that? Just my day to day. Oh yeah, my day to day. So normally I'm watching Netflix series. Like oh, and speaking of Netflix series, this wasn't on Netflix, but this is the reason why I want to talk about this. I was watching something on Prime Video, right? I think it comes on, if you got Prime Video, they got the other apps like Paramount and Stars and all that stuff. It's on Paramount. Lioness, which is a good series, but this brought upon this topic for me this early. The work balance, parenting. So their child was 14 years old. And if you've seen this, you already know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't seen it, I'm gonna break it down to you. So they're married. It's a two-parent household, right? They have two daughters. The father is a doctor. The mother works for she works for the federal government. She's in this like secret team called the Lioness, and they're like a military extraction team and stuff. It's really dope stuff, right? I love that kind of stuff. But the daughter got in a severe accident, so obviously somewhere down the line, they didn't put it in the swim, but the promise that the 14-year-old daughter made to the parents, because the parents told her this: don't be riding in cars with teenagers because they really don't know how to drive, and don't get pregnant. And both happened, right? Now, she wasn't driving the car, she was a passenger of the car. Got in a bad accident and messed her leg up. And because of blood work, urinalysis and stuff, that everything that they have to do, just protocol through the hospital in those situations, guess what happened? Found out she was pregnant. Father, is very upset. He had to call his wife, which is somewhere handling this stuff, these cases, man, with the military, undercover situations. He had to call her on the phone, and he said, man, look, I really think, I don't know if she said it or he said it, but the conversation went along with, I think we're really putting our careers over our responsibilities. Because they were totally disappointed. Car accident, she's driving with a teenager. Secondly, she's also pregnant. So it's like, we're working and we're providing nice house and giving them everything, but we're really not paying attention to our kids. So that's what started this episode today, and I should have led with that earlier. I should have gave that scenario earlier and made this flow a little better. But guess what? We're here. So that is the importance. And it goes back to what I said in another episode, developmental stages of your kids' minds from 0 to 6. I don't know about young ladies, but for males, 0 to 6, the attachment to the mother. 7 to 13, it's starting to be an identity thing. So the dad needs to be there, to help them figure out who they are. Both of them need to, help, but it starts being more leaning towards the dad, especially if the father's active. And then from 14 to 21, all the influences come from the environment, their peers, etc., which are your coaching stages of parenting. So they have more freedoms as they get older: 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, definitely 20, 21, adulthood, right? Coaching. Your kid should be comfortable with coming to talk to you about almost any and everything. Even if they're going to mask certain things because they feel like, hey, I can't say certain things. It's just a level of respect, but you're listening. and you're pinpointing like maybe why they're having this conversation with you. You're giving them the real, you're giving them game. You're not yelling at them. You're treating them like a human being, but then you also enforce your parent authority a little bit through your suggestions, and what you assess through the conversation, and you let them know what's the best thing. Like, hey, I don't think you should do that. I think you should do it this way. Help them work through the problems, right? I told you, I can tell you it effectively works because I have a 22-year-old daughter, man, that communication with us was everything. And I remember when the first time she told me she had a boyfriend. She was 14, right? Because she mainly stayed with her mother. And she got in my truck, and her aunt was like, so do you want to tell them or you want me to tell them? I'm like, tell me what? Since she was like, Dad, look, don't be mad. Promise you ain't gonna be mad. And I'm like, what's up? I got a boyfriend. I'm like, in my mind, I'm cussing and fussing and this, that, and the third, right? So I had to remember something I told my older cousin, because his daughter is older than mine. He didn't like his daughter's prom dress. And he's going off in a rant, like, man, all them little boys and this, that, and the third. And I was like, bruh, but you was those little boys. Some situations, man, don't change. It's just different faces and names. So, talking to him off the ledge, and I was like, yo, you just got to make sure that your daughter got the skills and the tools to know who's good for her and what's not. What situations are sticky, which ones are true, right? So back to my daughter. This is one thing I told my daughter. I said, look, man, you to that age, you like boys. And if you like boys, this is what's going to happen. But here's my ground rules. I don't really care to meet any of them. Right? Don't really care to meet any of them. And don't let it distract you from what you really got to do. You need to graduate high school without a kid. You need to stay on the path of trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, because those type of relationships, especially, is very distracting because, oh my God, we think we so much in love and all this. And then also, hey, check this out. They're going to come and go. That's another reason why I don't want to meet them. You're talking to him today, you feeling him today, and guess what? Something happens months later. It could be either side. Y'all not talking anymore, right? Also teaching how to keep your private life a little private until it's really, really real. And also told her some other stuff that I think that I'm like, hey, look, I can't control what you do sexually, but I think certain things don't do. Certain things should be privileged, right? Because you don't want to be the talk, because little dudes and girls, they talk. I mean, even as grown people talk, right? You don't want to be put in a situation where you've done something like a sexual act or whatever, and then he's going back telling his friends what you did, and then all of a sudden you're being labeled now in the school because there's no maturity level where you are, or it's very slim and lack the maturity level for the mind of a teenager. So we had that conversation. And like I said, man, years later, she's still on a good path. And we constantly had these conversations. But of course, she's not going to tell me every detail because I'm her father. I'm a guy. And there's certain things that she will talk to, like my aunt, her aunt, maybe her mom. She has relationships with other females that she can talk about certain things to. But she comes talk to me all the time because I made communication very, 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 very important. And the time, like I said, we do our dinners, our lunches once a month, sometimes twice a month, just so I can always did that, just so I can see what's going on, you know, so I can understand her world, understand what she's seeing, understand how she's processing information. I'm learning stuff. It's things that I'm not supposed to because it's work, 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 responsibility. You know what I mean? So we gotta, those things are very important, in development. So spend time with your kids and understand that it's levels with everything. Now, I'm not going to say that I have the golden book to parenting. I definitely want to say that. Every parenting situation is different. And understand that as well, because just because this kid came out of you in some way, shape, or form, whether it was through, you the man, sperm, or your mom, you carried the baby, that kid is not 100% you. They have their own personality. They're going to see the world differently from us, from growing up, the environments. They're going to have some of you in them, but that's them. And you really need to understand and learn them. And once you understand and learn your kid, it's like when they're babies, right? You can detect when your baby starts whining a certain way, when they're hungry. Your kids get older, when they start acting a certain kind of way, they're sleepy. You learn your kids' behavior, but that learning needs to continue. It doesn't stop. You should constantly learn your kids' patterns as they develop. You should be able to identify when something's really wrong, right? You should be able to, and they can trust and communicate. You should understand when it's a time to be like, all right, let's talk about it. Because check this out. You do that with your spouse, or you do that with the person that you want to deal with. You learn all of their behaviors to build a relationship and give that part of the relationship longevity. You know what I mean? You work on that. It's the same thing with your kids, right? And it's a certain age that your kid is going to be who they are, right? And you just keep learning the patterns. So yes, personal life, social life, when you have kids, man, you got to get it when you can. But the most important thing is, understanding that you still have to help this personality develop. And you want them to develop and to be a good citizen. Now, there will be a certain point in time that, yes, they want to do what they want to do, and you can't blame yourself for their mistakes. But you just know that, hey, I put you in the best environments. I put you in the best schools. I put you in the best situations. Some things, yes, falls on them, and we can't do nothing about it. We can be disappointed, but we also can't take the blame. But if you've done what you're supposed to, you're instilling in them right from wrong. So you're giving them the foundation, right? But also the foundations is not just about that. Foundations also include life experiences. So you're working hard to get them out of a situation, get them out of an environment, because it's not conducive to their development or their growth. That's why I said it doesn't stop. You keep going. Because if you keep your kids, regardless of the skills that you can give them, if they're constantly in bad environments, they're going to make bad mistakes. Sometimes it's victim of circumstance, unless they're going to stay in the house and be in a bubble. But that's not going to happen. If they're going to be outside, kicking it with their friends, yeah, depending on where they are, depending on what environment they're subjected to, they're going to play a part in it in some way, whether it's a small way or a big way. They're going to have scares. Let's say it like that. They're going to have situations that are scares, and giving them the tools to know how to navigate through those are what's important. Giving them the tools. So that's why, we think, oh, because we have our kids all the time, they live with us, and, oh, they should know better. Yeah, but how do they know better? What did you do to help them know better? Did you really put that time in? Did you really talk to them? Did you really communicate with them? Because I said, once again, they're going to make mistakes. And they're going to make mistakes that can be costly, but it's also their life. So you can't prevent everything, and you can't blame yourself, but you still keep at the work. You still keep at the work, because even through those tough times, they still going to come to you for comfort. They still going to come to you for comfort, and you still need to just be there and help them work through what they're going through at the moment or at that time. So your social life, your kids should be a big part of your social life, because this is the kingdom that you're building. This is your ecosystem that you're building. You created little personalities that need to be in your ecosystem, in your social skills, in your social world. You know what I mean? They should be in your social world. So work life, parenting life, social, your social life, you got to figure out a way to connect it all, but then also connect it all for the greater benefit of your responsibility that you have created. Because I see a lot of parents out here where their kid then done something wrong, or they've made horrible decisions, and the parent is extremely mad. But then when you go down the line and you make them reflect on the part that they played in the development of their kid, they really realize, well, I really wasn't there like that. You know what I mean? We definitely know it's a difference between physically being somewhere and mentally and emotionally being somewhere. You say that to your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wives. It's the same. Some of those strategies, some of those philosophies apply as to your kids. So be there. Definitely be there. And make them a part of your ecosystem, Now, you can't take your kids to the bar with you, stuff like that. And I'm not saying, again, you don't need your downtime. Yes, your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, or the other parent, hey, they take them, go ahead and enjoy your life, right? But then also think about this sometimes. If you and the other parent, y'all just didn't work out, really, if y'all can get to a point and let y'all egos go, because sometimes, man, a lot of our relationships fail. I don't know the numbers, so I don't want to say a lot, but I've experienced relationships, a vast majority of relationships that failed, lack of communication, lack of skills, because neither one of them have the tools in their toolbox to actually deal with someone else. It's a lot of selfish stuff that goes on in relationships, so the relationship crash and burn. But now y'all have a kid. Y'all should maybe work on getting to a point of friends being, hey, we need to be cool. And those weekends that, the other parent, whoever has that child, hey, take some time maybe. Hey, let's go to lunch. Show your kid that, yo, my parents is cool. Regardless of what happened to them, I don't know what happened to them. If you choose to tell your kid what happened to y'all, that's up to you. But at least they know, like, hey, it didn't work out, but both my parents love me. And man, they can spend time with y'all and let them, they'll figure out why y'all can't be together. Cause they'll see certain things in y'all that you be like, yeah, they be like, yeah, they definitely don't work. If you can get to that point, if y'all can get to that point. I'm not saying that every relationship can, but if y'all can get to that point where you can add that into the co-parenting, y'all can still all be around each other, and y'all both are giving your kids or kid game on things, and y'all are instrumental in your kids' lives, both of y'all at the same time, even individually, imagine what type of person that you're developing. you know, and if you're doing it in a good way, you're going to raise another upstanding citizen and somebody that's going to help project this world further. So think about it. Personal life, work balance, parenting, figure out good ways, good strategies to connect it all together. Because the development of the kid, it would be great if both parents could assist with that. But if you're on your own, hey, you got to do what you can do, but you got to understand that you got to put that time in with your kids. Understand where their mind is at, see how they're developing. And then, you know, and understand you're going to be a coach at a certain point in time, and you should be the one coaching them, not their friends that don't know any further or know any more than life than they do, or another family member shouldn't be coaching them, right? If you're there, because you're there 24/7. And now I'm not saying that the kid shouldn't have another, another relative to be comfortable with to talk to, but you should be the primary. You should be the primary. Just my opinion. So, once again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of I'm Trying and True. Yesterday's affect tomorrow's. And you peep that. Yesterday's affect tomorrow's. Think about it. Peace.